Hi and welcome back. Before we start making the second wall ornament, I need to correct a mistake. I forgot to select some of the edges that we need for beveling on this object here. If you go to the edge mode and zoom in to the bottom of this wall ornament here, you can see that I didn't select the edges down here in the corners, and we need to select these as well for beveling. So let's go to the front view, and I'm going to use the rectangle selection tool with only select visible elements deactivated. And now I'm going to select all of these edges down here as well. Okay, and now let's go to the right view, and I'm going to change the display to Guru shading lines here. And now let's select these edges down here as well. Okay, and now let's select this selection tag here, then go to Selection, Set Selection. And that's it for this bit. In the next bit we're going to start working on the second wall ornament. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you then. Bye bye. Hi and welcome back. In this lesson we're going to make a second wall ornament, but first of all I want to get rid of some of the polygons on this wall ornament here. So let's go to the polygon mode, and I'm going to use the loop selection tool here to select these polygons at the top and delete them. And now let's go to the top view, change the cameras to bottom, hit O on the keyboard, and I'm going to use the rectangle selection tool here with only select visible elements activated to select all of these polygons. And you can see that for some reason the rectangle selection tool wouldn't select some of these polygons here. And also you can see that over here we have additional polygons selected on the outside of this wall ornament, and you can see that by the normals that are sticking out to the left here. So first of all, let's get a little closer here and select this polygon and this polygon. Okay, and now let's switch to the right view, change the cameras to left, hit O on the keyboard, and if you get a little closer you can see that we have these polygons here selected too, and we don't want to delete these. So hold down the Control key and drag the rectangle selection tool over all of these polygons here to deselect them. Okay, and now we should have only these bottom polygons selected. Let's delete these. Now let's go to the point mode and make sure that everything is deselected, and then optimize this object. Okay, and now we're going to drag this wall ornament into the first to fourth floor as null object, and let's make this visible. And now we can start making the second wall ornament. Now first of all, let's select these walls here, go to the polygon mode, and I'm going to select this polygon down here on the left. right click and split this polygon off, and I'm going to drag this new object out of here, and let's rename this to wall ornament 2. I'm going to make the first to fourth floors invisible here, and I'm going to use axis center to center the object axis on this polygon. Now let's go to the front view, hit O on the keyboard, and go to the edge mode. I'm going to select these two edges here, right click and apply an edge cut. And I want to use an offset of 50% with 2 subdivisions and no n-gons. Now I'm going to select these edges here and scale them to 90 units on the y-axis. Next, let's select these two edges here, right click and bevel these edges with an inner offset of 10 units. Now let's go to the polygon mode and delete these 3 polygons here, then switch to the point mode, and since none of these points are selected, we can go straight to functions, optimize, and hit OK, and this will get rid of these points in the middle of nowhere here. Now let's go to the polygon mode, right click and extrude these polygons with an offset of 5 units. And also let's go back to the model tool. We need to change the width of this object. If you switch the first to fourth floors back on, you can see that it doesn't fit exactly in between the big stone frame here. So we need to change the size of this wall ornament to 200 units on the x-axis. Okay, and now it will fit perfectly in between the big stone frame here. Let's make this first to fourth floors null object invisible again, go back to the polygon mode. And next I'm going to delete these 2 polygons here and these 2 over here. Now let's go back to the edge mode, and you can see that we have the 4 edges that we need for beveling already selected. So let's go to selection, set selection, and rename it to edges for beveling. Okay, and now we can start duplicating. Let's make the first to fourth floors visible and go to functions, duplicate, and first of all we need 6 copies, and we need to enable movement on the x-axis, deactivate rotation, and apply these settings. And now I'm going to connect these objects here, delete these 2, and let's select this new object and the tags, set the selection and delete these tags here. And now let's duplicate again, and this time we need 3 copies, and we need to deactivate movement and enable rotation. And again I'm going to connect these objects here, delete these 2, and then select this one and the tags, set the selection and delete these tags here. And now we need to duplicate once more, and this time we need 2 copies, and we need to enable movement on the y-axis. Okay, so let's switch off the x-axis here and also deactivate rotation. Let's apply these settings, and this will copy this wall ornament to the other floors up here. And again I'm going to connect these objects here, delete these 2, select this one and the tags, set the selection and delete these tags. And I'm going to rename this to wall ornament 2 and apply this white material here to this object, and I'm going to drag it into the first to fourth floors null object. Okay, now let's do a quick test render. And that's it for this lesson. In the next bit we're going to make the roof ornament. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you then. Bye bye. Hi and welcome back. In this part we're going to make the rooftop ornament. And first of all I want to make all of these objects here invisible in the editor and for the renderer. Now let's go to the front view and go to Edit, Frame Default. And next I want to draw a linear spline. Now let's just left click in the viewport to create the points for the shape I'm going to create here. And you can see that the axis is in the way, so I'm going to switch it off by hitting Alt D. Now let's continue left clicking and drawing the rough shape of this rooftop ornament here. And once you've reached this position up here, left click on this point over there to close this spline. And next I want to align these points. First of all, I'm going to align these horizontal rows of points on the y-axis. Okay, and next I'm going to align these vertical rows of points on the x-axis. These are already aligned, so there's nothing to do here. And now let's select all of these points. I want to change the size of this object to 72 units on the x-axis and to 35 units on the y-axis. And now let's go to the model tool, hit Alt D to bring back the axis. Now I'm going to center the object axis on this spline, and I'm going to center the spline on the grid by changing the position to 0 on the x-axis and on the y-axis. Okay, next let's go back to the point mode. I want the height of these 2 points to be 7.5 units. So what I'm going to do is select this point here, copy the y position, then select these 2 points, paste the y position and enter -7.5. And now I'm going to copy the y position of these 2 points, then select these 2, paste the y position, enter -7.5. And now let's copy the position of these 2 points, then select these 2, paste the y position, and again enter -7.5. And I also want these 2 points to have a width of 21 units. So here I'm going to select this point, copy the x position, then select these 2 points, paste the x position, and enter -21. And now let's copy the x position of these 2 points, then select these 2 points, paste the x position, and enter -21. And now copy the x position of these points, select these 2 points, paste the x position, and again enter -21. And this is the basic shape of our roof ornament. Next, let's left click on this spline in the Object Manager to bring up its attributes in the Attribute Manager. And here I'm going to change the type of this spline to Bezier. Now let's hit Ctrl A to select all of the points here, then go to Structure, Edit Spline, Hard Interpolation. And next I'm going to select these 4 points here, then go to Structure, Edit Spline, Chamfer. And I want to chamfer these points with a radius of 5 units. Okay, and with this spline still selected, hold down the Alt key and create an Extrude NURBS object. And I want to change the movement of this Extrude NURBS object to 0, so that we get this flat object here. And next we need to reduce the amount of detail on this object. So let's select this spline here, and I'm going to change the angle here in the Attribute Manager to 25 degrees. And now let's select this Extrude NURBS object, make it editable. And next I want to remove this n-gon. So right click and select the knife tool. And I'm going to use the usual settings here that I used before. On the Snap Settings tab, enable snapping, and we need to snap to points here. And I'm going to make these horizontal cuts and these vertical cuts. And now let's go to Functions, remove n-gons. And next I want to align the new points. So I'm going to select this one here as a reference, copy the Y position, select this point and paste the Y position. Okay, the same here. Copy the Y position, select this point and paste the Y position. And now let's select this point here. Copy the Y position, select these points, paste the Y position and align these points. And the same here. Again, copy the Y position, select all of these points here, paste the Y position and align these points on the Y axis. And next we need to align the vertical rows of points. And again, I'm going to select this point here as a reference, and this time I'm going to copy the X position and select all of these points here, paste the X position and align these points. And over here I'm going to select this point, copy its X position, select these points, paste the X position, again align these points on the X axis. Now let's select this point, copy the X position, select these points, paste the X position and align these points. And I'm doing the same thing here. Copy the X position, select these points, paste the X position, align these points. And over here, let's select this point, copy the X position, then select this point and paste the X position. And we need to do that once more. Select this point, copy the X position, select this point and paste the X position. Now let's go to the polygon mode, right click and extrude these polygons. And I want to use an offset of 30 units here. And we need to create caps. Let's hit Ctrl A to select all of the polygons. I just want to make sure that the normals are aligned correctly here, which they are. So now we can select these polygons here and delete them. And now let's go to the model tool and center the object axis on this object. Go to the front view, activate the object axis tool and the move tool. We need to snap to points here. Now let's move this object axis over to here and up to here. Okay, and next let's go to the edge mode, and I'm going to use the loop selection tool with stop at boundary edges deactivated, and I'm going to select these edges here, and I want to deselect this edge and this edge down here, and I want to select the edges in the corners here. Let's save this selection and rename it to edges for beveling. And I'm going to rename this to roof ornament. And we can delete this polygon selection tag, which is no use. And next we need to move this roof ornament up to the top of the building, below the top ceiling. Let's make the first to fourth floors visible. And I want to move this roof ornament up to here, to the center of this part. So I'm going to select the wall ornament, go to the polygon mode, and I'm going to select this polygon here, right click and split it off. Now let's drag this new object out of here, and I'm going to make the first to fourth floors invisible again. Go to the model tool and center the object axis on this polygon. Now let's go to the front view, hit O on the keyboard, activate the object axis tool and the move tool, and change the snap settings to edge. And now I'm going to move this object axis up to the top edge of this polygon. Go back to the model tool and select this roof ornament. Go to Functions, Transfer, and drag our polygon down into this field here in the Attribute Manager and hit Apply. And we need to rotate this roof ornament by 90 degrees. So let's activate the Rotate tool, hold down the Shift key, and left click and drag on this green handle, and rotate the roof ornament by -90 degrees. Okay, Okay, and now we can get rid of this polygon here. Next, let's go to the right view, hit O on the keyboard, and I want to make the roof, the 5th floor and the 1st to 4th floors visible. And you can see that our roof ornament fits perfectly up here, but I also want it to be flush with the front of this top ceiling here. So now we need to find out what size this roof ornament has to be to fit perfectly up here. Now we know that the bottom polygon of this top ceiling is 2760 units, and we need to deduct the size of the walls, which is 2600 units, and we also need to deduct the size of the wall ornaments, which is 10 units, and that equals 150 units. And we need to divide 150 by 2, and that equals 75. Okay, and that is the size our roof ornament has to be to fit under the ceiling here. So let's select, well, this roof ornament, and I'm going to reset the object axis of this roof ornament to 0 in the rotation field on the x-axis here. And now let's change the size of this roof ornament to 75 on the z-axis. Well, we need to go back to the model tool first. Okay, and to 75 here. Apply these settings. And now this roof ornament is flush with the top ceiling here. Next, I want to prepare a beveled version of this roof ornament. So I'm going to make these objects here invisible again. Now let's make a copy of this roof ornament and rename it to Roof Ornament Beveled. And let's make this object here invisible. Go to the edge mode. The edges of our selection should still be selected, so just right click and bevel these edges. And I'm using an inner offset of 0.2 here. Let's bring the Phong angle down a bit to 33 degrees. Next we need to clean up the mesh here, so let's go to the point mode. And I'm going to use the live selection tool to select these 2 points here, and go to Structure, Weld, and just left click anywhere in the viewport to weld these 2 points in the middle. And now I'm using the spacebar to switch between the live selection tool and the weld tool. Let's select these 2 points and weld them. And we also need to weld these 2 points here. Now let's go over to the other side here. Select these 2 points, weld them, and I'm going to select these 2 points and weld them. And we also need to select these 2 points here and weld them. Now let's go to the right view. And if you get a little closer, you can see that by welding these points, the size of the beveled edge here has changed. So I want to fix that. Let's use the rectangle selection tool with only select visible elements deactivated, because I want to reposition the points on both sides of this object at the same time. And I'm going to select this point here as a reference. I'll copy the Y position, and now select all of these points here. Paste the Y position and align these points on the Y axis. Next, let's select this point here as a reference and copy the position on the Z axis, and then select these points, paste the position and align these points on the Z axis. And now I'm going to select this point here as a reference, copy the Y position and select all of these points here. paste the Y position and align these points on the Y axis. And now let's select this point here as a reference, copy the position on the Z axis, and now select these points, paste the position and align these points on the Z axis. And I'm going to select this point here as a reference, copy the Y position and select these points here, paste the Y position and align these points. And now select this point here as a reference, copy the position on the Z axis, and select all of these points here, paste the position and align these points. Okay, and this would be the beveled version of our roof ornament. Let's drag this into the temp null object. And actually this is no longer our temp null object, so we might as well rename this to beveled objects. And we can get rid of this selection tag here, which we don't need anymore. And we can also delete the selection tag on the unbeveled roof ornament. Okay, next let's make the roof and the 5th floor and the 1st to 4th floors visible. Go to the front view. Make sure that the unbeveled roof ornament is selected. We're going to duplicate this object now. And here we need 28 copies. And we need to move each copy on the x-axis. So let's deactivate the y-axis. And we need to move each copy by 87.5 units on the x-axis. Now let's apply these settings. Okay, and now we should have our copies of this roof ornament in the middle of these sections here, and we should have copies in the middle of the windows as well. And next I want to connect all of these roof ornaments. I'll right click on this null object here and select children, and this should select all of these roof ornament copies here. And now hold down the control key and left click on this null object to deselect it. Now right click and connect all of these roof ornaments. And now we can get rid of these objects here. Okay, and next I want to duplicate this new object once more, and this time we need 3 copies, and we need to deactivate movement, enable rotation, apply these settings, and let's connect these roof ornaments here and delete these objects. And now I'm going to drag this roof ornament into the roof null object and apply this white material to it. And this is the end of this lesson. So the modeling of this building is now finished. In the next bit we're going to come back and reorganize the scene a bit. Thanks for watching this, and I'll see you then. Bye bye. Hi and welcome to the final lesson of my tutorial. In this part we're going to reorganize the scene a bit. I want to regroup the objects here, and I also want to connect some of these objects in the scene. So first of all, what I want to do is select all of the window grids, drag them out of here, right click and connect these objects, delete these ones, and now let's go to the edge mode, select our new window grid and the selection tags, restore the selection, select edges and set the selection, and delete these tags here. And let's rename this to window grids. And now I want to connect all of the window panes. And delete these objects here. I also want to connect the window frames. and this takes a while because I have a very old PC which is quite slow. Okay, let's delete these objects and select this one and the tags, and now let's restore the selection, select the edges, and again this takes a while. Now let's set this selection and delete these tags, and I'm going to rename this to window frames and this object to window panes. And now I'm going to connect the window sills. Okay, delete these objects here, select this one and the tags, restore selection, select edges, and set this selection and delete these tags. Rename this to window sills, and I want to connect the stone frames. Delete these objects, select this one and the tags, restore selection, select edges, set the selection, delete this tag, and rename this object to stone frames. Next I want to connect these wall ornaments. Okay, select this one and the tags, again restore selection, select the edges, and set the selection and delete this tag here, and rename this to wall ornaments. And now let's connect the walls. And delete these objects here. Rename this to walls. And now we can get rid of this 5th floor null object. Next let's drag these ceilings out of here, and I want to select the roof as well. Now hit Alt G to place these objects in a null object, and I'm going to call this ceilings. And now let's drag this big stone frame out of here, and let's drag the door, the stone girder, and the pillars out of this ground floor null object. And I'm going to delete this null object here and the ground floor null object. And now I'm going to select the window sills, the window frames, the window panes, and the window grids. Hit Alt G, and I'm going to rename this to windows. And I'm going to select the walls, the wall ornaments, the stone frames, the big stone frame, the stone girder, and the pillars. Hit Alt G, and I'm going to call this walls. Okay, and now let's select all of these null objects here, hit Alt G, and rename this to office building. Okay, and now we're done. Let's do a final test render here. So this is the end of my tutorial. I hope you found it useful, and I also hope you've had fun doing it. Thanks for watching my tutorial, and take care.